David?
You're good to go, Chairman. We've already started.
David? Go ahead. Okay. Go ahead and call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the meeting of the Maricopa County Board of Adjustment. Rosalie, would you please do roll call?
Chairman Loper,
Present.
Vice Chairperson,
Present.
Member Cardin,
Present.
Craig, you're muted, it looks like. He
Present.
did say present, but I'm not hearing you.
Present.
thank you. Member Clapp,
Present.
Member Clapp,
Present. Can you hear me?
We got you now, Craig, but not member Clapp.
My mic says it's on. Present.
Yeah,
Member
Member
Ward?
Clapp, you're on the broadcast. I'm not sure they're not hearing us very well in the auditorium, so we'll
Yeah,
try
I
to work
hear
on
her
that.
as well.
Yeah.
Present.
Yeah, I've got nods or thumbs up from all three.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
All right. Move on to the announcements. One, this meeting has been noticed in accordance with the open meeting laws of ARS 38431. B, agendas are available within 24 hours of each meeting in the Maricopa County Planning and Development Office. They're also available on the Planning and Development website 1 week prior to the hearing at www.maricopa.gov/planning. With respect to the hearing process, cases will be considered in the order that they appear on the agenda unless otherwise agreed to by the board.
I can't hear anything.
Yeah, I'm trying to communicate with them. Not sure, they're obviously having audio issues in the auditorium, so try to see if they can get that fixed. But it's not the webinar side. We're good on the webinar
And
side, so.
by clicking on that icon on the webinar screen. Staff will present the chair with the names of persons who have registered and noted a desire to comment. Those registered participants who have raised their hand. The chair will call on each named participant, one at a time. Such testimony shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. However, the actual amount of time allowed for testimony shall be at the discretion of the board chair. We'll stick with 3 minutes. The chair will conduct the hybrid in-person and virtual public hearing according to the bylaws and according to the rules established by the chair regarding public comment. Votes will be done by roll call vote only, and the chair will verbally identify the specific members responsible for all motions and seconds. Right, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes for July 18, 2024. Are there any comments, additions, deletions, revisions from any board member? Seeing none, those are approved. We have nothing under code compliance. We'll move on to the regular agenda. Item number 1, BA 2024-0004, the Dominguez property in District 5.
Thank you, Chairman Loper. Good morning, members of the board. This is a variance request BA 24004, Dominguez residence, which is located at 9106 South 32nd Lane near the intersection of 35th Avenue and Dobbins Road in the Levine area. The applicant, on behalf of the property owner, is requesting to propose to add a 2,181 square foot detached RV garage with no problem. Sorry.
Do you want?
Because if they can't hear, we don't.
Yeah,
technically-
makes sense.
We aren't really having hearing.
Right. This is the part of the show where Martin, in place of Matt, now you have to do the puppet show. Hold on, everyone. We have some technical difficulties.
They're having audio issues.
Right, exactly.
You like that?
I see.
Rachel, can you hear us on the webinar?
Yes.
Could you repeat that, please?
So So we've been able to hear on the GoToWebinar since about the middle of the announcements.
Okay.
And everyone on the webinar can hear each other fine, and it sounds like we're hearing you again. So I think we're good.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and proceed. Board members, just give me a thumbs up if you can hear us. All right. Okay, we'll
Okay.
move forward.
I'll
Sorry
try to-
about that, Martin.
No,
Go
no problem.
ahead.
Don't worry about it. All right, so like I said before, the applicants are requesting to add a 2,181 square foot detached RV garage with a 2-story guest house that's going to be attached as one unit. This is going to be placed on the east side of the property along a 20-foot wide access easement. The property itself is in the rural 43 zoning district, and this would be in the east side yard setback. So the request is to, since there's a 20-foot ingress egress that's going north-south, and then they also have the 20-foot street side yard setback, the structure is going to be placed 3 feet from that access easement. So that's going to require a reduction of that street yard setback on the east side to 3 feet. So then the property on, and the reason why they're interested in this location is that they have some existing driveways kind of on that, it was on that slide before that. They had some existing driveways in the north of the property. Placing this structure there with the RV garage would be a perfect location since there's already existing driveways at that location. And then, but there is also kind of a mention within that site plan that there's a, I don't know, in the larger site plan, if you could see on the right-hand side, in that lower rear yard of the property, there's a existing carport. There was mention that that was going to be demolished. Now, there is an existing driveway that connects to a gate that goes to that access easement. So if we did look at maybe demolishing that, placing this structure there with existing driveway and the gate, that wouldn't, they would not need have to do a variance at all with that location. So that's kind of what staff has kind of noticed on this. And then we have kind of observed in this too that there's lot is not going to be subject to any hillside, or washes or other topographical constraints that are peculiar condition to the property. And staff is unable to identify a peculiar condition of the property that's not self-created in the line of title. That when the ordinance standard is applied, creates an unnecessary hardship preventing reasonable development of the property. And staff has determined that there are alternatives available that negate the need for a variance. However, if the board is satisfied, applicant has been satisfied with the statutory test, then has stated the findings on record. The grant of this variance will memorialize the following: that the variance will be approving a 3-foot east side yard setback exclusive of the 20-foot wide access easement for APN 300-14-207. This concludes my presentation. Thank you, members of the board.
Thank you, Martin. Good explanation. And any questions of staff? Go ahead, member.
Hi, Martin.
Hello, Heather.
So when we're looking at this plan on the screen, north is up.
Maybe on the very top.
Okay.
So I want to go back to the screen before that.
Sure.
There you go.
Okay,
So
so north is up.
On the top, correct.
So the right or east side, that is the access easement.
That is correct.
And then on the south side, it looked on the aerial like there's also a road there.
There's actually a canal there, and then after the canal, there's the right-of-way of Dobbins Road.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions of staff by any board members? I do have one. So the reason, if there was not for 32nd Lane, which is an easement,
Right.
they would be fine because
Correct.
then you have the 3 feet to the side yard.
Right.
They don't need a variance because they don't encroach into the front yard area.
Correct.
They're in the street side part of it. Do you know the extent of that easement going northward, what it serves?
Now, the northwards on the north part of the property, Ben?
Well, I mean, does the
The
easement extend north
Oh,
of this
32nd, sorry.
property?
32nd Lane actually does go north to about 6 other properties to the north.
Okay, so it needs to be
Serves those
maintained,
Properties, correct.
or presumably it does. All right, no other questions. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is the applicant or applicant's representative in attendance? Come on up and provide your name and then speak to us regarding why you'd like this variance.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Angelica. I'm with Proca Design. I'm with the representing the homeowner who's also here. So we are proposing the RV garage and casita to be on the east side of the property. When we designed this RV garage, we went on our findings provided on the Maricopa County website, where it clearly states that on any lot, an accessory building can be located at any location that the primary building can be located. Additionally, the site specifies that that the detached accessory buildings are allowed a minimum of 3-foot setback, which is what we provided, in any area except the front yard, provided they do not exceed 30% of the required rear or side yard. Following these guidelines, the ADU was strategically situated on the east side of the property, ensuring compliance with the 30% side setback rule. This location not only adheres to county standards, but also optimizes access from the north, facilitating smooth vehicular movement and minimizing any potential disruption to neighboring properties. So even though there is an entrance on 32nd lane, it would be easier for the homeowner to enter through the north side of the property. So the proposed, as Martin proposed, the RV garage to be built on the rear of the property, where there is an existing structure that will be demolished. We try to design it there. However, it would impact on the septic that will need to be relocated, and also on the septic reserve area. There are also a few mature trees that will need to be removed in order for the RV garage to be placed on the rear of the property. What else? Okay, and the ADU, placing on the ADU on the south side would create a layout that is not only impractical, but also detrimental to the functionality of the property. There's awkward circulation patterns that would complicate access, making it difficult for vehicles to enter and exit, and ultimately diminishing the usability of the ADU. Therefore, we're hoping the variance to reduce the side setback from 20 feet to 3 feet in order for this RV garage to be built, to be granted, as there would not be, it would be the best option for the homeowner to build the RV garage there. And that would be all. Any questions?
All right, thank you very much. Any questions of the applicant by any other board members? All right, hold tight. We may have some questions for you coming up. I don't have any speaker request cards. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, are there any online?
We're not aware of any online.
All right, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Turn this over to the board members for discussion and or a motion. This is in District 5. Member Ward. Member Ward, go ahead.
Can somebody, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can somebody please explain to me the definition of the AD, that the detached accessory buildings are permitted, yet we're saying they're not? Where's that discrepancy coming from? If you look at item number 9, I'm sorry, on page, it would be page 8 of our packet. Well, basically, the applicant stated, on any lot, an accessory building can be located at any location with the 3 feet setback. So
Yes,
why is there a discrepancy?
Mr. Chairman,
I don't understand.
Mr. Chairman, Member Ward, that's the applicant's statement that we carry over verbatim. The detached accessory structures are able to be located within required side and rear yards, but this that colloquially is called a street side is a front. 32nd Lane on the east is a frontage. So that is a front yard, but on corner lots, we describe the street yard, which is the longer and shallower of the required front yards, to only be 20 feet rather than 40 feet in the rural 43 zoning district. So hopefully that answers the question. That's a required front where detached accessory structures are prohibited. So what they're wanting to do is locate in that required yard at 3 feet rather than at 20 feet.
Okay, thank you.
And that's by virtue of it being a corner lot. Any other board members have any questions or comments? Open it up for a motion. Again, this is in District 5, Member Ward. I will comment that I don't personally have an issue with this. I'll go back to a longstanding position I've had where consideration of septic fields and reserve areas are a design element for the property that affects it as much as a wash or a hillside or a slope or something else. So I definitely understand the applicant's consideration of that in their design. Member Ward.
I also, the mature trees is a problem as well. And I motion to approve BA 240004 with condition 14A.
We have a motion to approve BA 240004 by Member Ward. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Member Person. Rosalie, would you please take roll call?
Member Cardin,
Yes.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Person,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 5-0.
Congratulations and good luck with your structure.
Thank you so much.
All right, move on to the next and last item on the agenda, BA 240005. This is the 10218 East Adobe Road front setback variance. Joel?
Chairman Loper, members of the board, agenda item 2 is for case BA 240005, variance for the Marshall property. Site is located in East Mesa at 10218 East Adobe Road in Supervisory District 2. Next slide. This variance is to allow for a 14-foot front setback where 28 feet is required in the rural 43 zoning district. The existing residence was built in the early 1970s. At that time, there was a required front setback of 80 feet, and the home itself was built 68 feet from the then property line. Adobe Road's right-of-way was later expanded, so that home now has a setback of 28 feet, where 40 feet would have been required. A prior homeowner obtained a variance in the early 2000s to allow for that 28-foot setback. The lot itself does not appear to contain any topographical constraints that would prevent development, as the lot is fully developed at this point. Next slide. A subsequent homeowner in or around 2017 built a few different additions onto the existing residence without the benefit of a permit. This included an addition built to the north and east, a covered porch built onto the residence, and a carport built onto an accessory garage. Next slide. The subject structures for this request are the covered porch and carport, as both of those structures exceed the allowed 28-foot setback. The addition itself to the home could be permitted under existing zoning ordinance requirements. Next slide. Staff would offer the following conclusions. The front south setback variance requested is the result of unpermitted construction and thus is self-created in the line of title. Staff cannot identify a peculiar condition or unnecessary hardship created by such condition when the ordinance standard is imposed. Finally, variance approval is not necessary for reasonable development of this property as it has been already developed with a single-family residence. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Joel. Great presentation. Are there any questions of staff by any board members at this time? Member Person, and then I'll get you Member Clapp.
Joel, I noticed in the staff report that it said in 2023 there was this violation filed for unpermitted construction. Who filed that? Like a neighbor or?
Chairman Loper, Vice Chair Person, it would have been called in by somebody in the neighborhood as a violation case anonymously, and then county staff would have investigated that violation to verify the complaint.
Yeah.
you. Member Clapp, you had a question?
Yeah, the report said that the staff believed that this area could be redesigned, and I was wondering what you had in mind, because the only thing I can see could happen here would these two structures would have to be removed. How could it be redesigned on the front, or are you suggesting that it should be moved to another area?
Chairman Loper, Member Clapp, I believe what I stated in the staff report was that the addition itself could be permitted in its current location, but that the existing carport and covered porch are not integral to the existing residence as they're not livable areas.
Yes.
Therefore, allowing for a variance of this would be, as they're not integral structures, there wouldn't be any unnecessary hardship imposed on the homeowner for such removal of such structures.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff at this time? Just a quick one, and I apologize, you said it, I'm pretty sure I didn't catch it. Different from when these were appeared to have been constructed or added 2017. Same ownership today or different ownership?
Chairman Loper, different ownership. It was prior owner until the current property owner took possession 23.
What I thought. All right, thank you very much. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is the applicant or their representative here in attendance physically? I don't see anyone that wishes to speak on this item.
I have the applicant online.
We've got it online. Go ahead.
I had indicated Brandon Marshall. There you go, Brandon.
Yeah, I'm
Go
here. I believe my agent is here as well. Katie, she was going to present the sort of technical information here.
Sure. I have unmuted Katie, so she's available now to speak.
Okay.
Okay, great. My name is Katie James. I'm with Architecture Collaborative Team. I'm located in Tempe, Arizona. This, as you heard, is a variance request for these structures that were built into the setback at 10-218. So I was hired probably about a year and a half ago to help Brandon with some unpermitted structures. So it ends up that there are quite a few unpermitted structures that he inherited when he bought this property, including the front porch and the little carport that's attached to the garage. We have been very busily trying to bring this property all up into compliance. And as we were bringing it up into compliance, and I do want to say that all of the structures are permittable, they just don't have a permit at this time, that we discovered that we were inside the front setback. And one of the reasons it probably wasn't noticed, number one, we were very, very concerned about all the structures not being permitted, so we were really working on that. And then around in his neighborhood, there are other what appear to be buildings in the front setback and people using the front setback for other uses, plus some that street itself on 10-218 is kind of interesting in that if you look down the street at where to the west, there's a big high school, and I think that might have been what prompted the change in the right of way. And a lot of these places were built haphazardly all over the place, and so you kind of look down the street and you've got houses every which way away from the actual pavement of the road. The front right now, the front porch is built directly in front of the house. It was the original house is the piece that's to the front, and it was always like that. And the previous owner put that porch on the front of it to enhance the way it looks. It was pretty much what I would call a very 1940s ranch burger or a 1970s ranch burger. So if you could switch to the next slide. This is presently what the front elevation of the house is. This is actually the as-built. And I have one more slide here that I wanted to show that really tells you what the front of this house looks like. If we go to the last slide. This is a good slide, and it tells you kind of what everything else is, but this is the house from the front. This is what's here. That structure with the pillars is the front porch, and the other little carport is the one with the windows. And you can see that this house faces the south. It has no protection from south sun, which is why I'm sure that they put this big porch on here, plus can make it look nice. And I did want to mention before I turned it over to Brandon that he bought this property knowing that some of these structures were unpermitted, but I don't believe he had any idea of the extent and the amount of cost that it was going to cost to bring this up to today's standards. And with that, I'll turn it over to Brandon.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today regarding this request. In addition to what Katie has already shared, I know there were some questions earlier on the violation case. So let me first speak to that. The previous owner added that covered patio and carport in 2017, in addition to the other modifications that Katie mentioned. Now, it was in 2022 when the information actually came to light that all of this work had been completed without permits. And that was when the previous owner put the property up for sale. And it was in the seller's disclosure statement that the previous owner noted that there were unpermitted modifications to the property. So when we made the decision to make an offer on the home, we certainly were aware that there were permitting issues. But as Katie just mentioned, we certainly were not aware of the scope and depth of those issues. However, we made it our intent from the very beginning to get the property in compliance. And as she mentioned, we've been working on this since October of 2022 with her and various other people trying to get this up to date. Now, the complaint that was originally issued came after the seller's disclosure statement disclosed that there were these unpermitted structures. And the initial complaint was filed actually prior to the sale of the house closing. That complaint was closed because when the ownership of the home changed to us, as what we were told, the actual complaint is against the property owner, not against the property itself. So the initial complaint was closed. However, after we closed on the sale of the home, a complaint was refiled, this time against us as the new owners for the same reasons. And that's the current violation case that you see. But once again, that was 5 years after completion of all of this work and only after this information was placed on the seller's disclosure statement. It's also interesting to highlight what the staff found in conducting further research into the history of the property, going all the way back to its initial approval in 1974. It seems to me that this step 50 years ago is really what started the ball rolling to where we are today. That step sort of set things up for failure, so to speak, because that initial intrusion of the house that was approved back in 1974 essentially created the situation where a covered attached structure could never be added to the front of the home without asking for additional variance. So even if the previous owner had gone through the proper permitting process, the issue would still exist and the question of this variance would still have to be presented. And of course, this is what brings us here today. Now, in addition to that, there's other items noted in the staff report, being the expansion of Adobe Road's right-of-way in the 2000s, and then reference to a 2000 staff report which found, quote, numerous issues with the original construction of the subject property and surrounding community relating to setbacks, end quote. To me, that altogether definitely creates a peculiar condition for the property. In addition to that, I submit that not receiving the variance will in fact lead to unnecessary hardship for several notable reasons. The first is simply the demolition of the existing structures. Removing the covered patio and the covered driveway is not as easy as just pulling out a few nails. As Katie mentioned, these structures were constructed in such a way that permits are issuable, meaning that the construction is sound and proper. So that roof, as you can see, is actually attached, the roof of the patio, that is actually attached in a proper way to the existing home. So removing this structure requires demolition and then reconstruction in order to bring the roof line and the eave back into function in order to prevent water intrusion and damage to the home. I would also add that in the ceiling of this particular roof over the patio is integrated lighting, so there would be electrical demolition that would have to be required as well. As Katie mentioned, obviously cost goes into that, so we certainly knew we were going to be spending some money on this, but continuing to increase the expenditures beyond the nearly $50,000 that we've already spent and trying to bring this property into compliance certainly is a hardship. The next thing I'll point out and just echo what Katie mentioned is about the shade. With a south facing front here, this structure provides significant shade, which helps with maintaining the indoor environment. So at a time when we're all striving for more efficiency and less power usage, I would submit that removing this would increase the load factor on the grid. And by the way, this neighborhood, according to SRP itself, has experienced 15 power outages in the last 21 months. Now that's not just our property, that's the entire neighborhood. So in addition to the hardship placed on us, removing these structures could potentially place unnecessary hardship on the utility and surrounding customers. Next, this covered patio adds monetary value
Mr. Marshall?
and curb appeal. So yes.
If you could try to wrap up your presentation in the next 30 seconds.
Okay, the last thing I will say then is if you look at the home immediately to the west of us, this structure was built in alignment with that home that also has a covered patio. And so if this patio is in the setback area, theirs would also be in the setback area as well. So essentially what we're saying here is this could open sort of a can of worms, not only requiring demolition on our property, but surrounding properties as well. And with that, I'll wrap it up at your request. I appreciate your time and allowing me to speak with you today.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for me and the board members to the two speakers? All right, please hold tight. We may have follow-up questions in a moment. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone else, no one else in person, anyone else online who wishes to speak on this item? All
We're
right.
not aware of anyone else online.
Nope. Okay, good. All right, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Turn it over to the board members for discussion and or a motion. This is in District 2. Member Clapp.
I have a question about the last comment about the house to the west and the statement that that house encroaches the same as this one does. I don't recall that when I saw an aerial of the houses side by side. Do we have that slide that shows the house directly to the west of the property?
Is it the close-up of this one?
I don't recall. It was in the packet. It does show the neighborhood and the house next door to the west.
The
Or
aerial?
is there a
in the
better
staff
picture?
report?
Is there a better picture so I can see what the house next door looks like? Again, I can't really see it very well on my screen.
The case map, is there a way to bring that up?
There's page 4 has an aerial in the staff report, and then the case map, the first attachment.
I think it was from staff's presentation, not that.
Yeah, the staff's report.
Yeah, I think Rachel's trying to bring that up now. There you go.
Or
There.
no.
Yeah, the one on the right, kind of,
Other one that looks like this.
the case map.
Yeah, the neck, I think it's,
There you go.
there you go. Is this the one you're speaking of, Member Clapp?
I think so. There was actually an aerial that showed the outline of the properties, and I don't recall the house next door extending into the front yard, as was just mentioned. Maybe I'm wrong.
Mhm. Yeah, about the same line. To the case map, next one, I believe. Yeah, if you can, I don't know if it's able to zoom in or not, but what the applicant is saying this aerial would tend to corroborate is that the house to the west or to the left, the front building line approximates the front building line of the subject parcel. Is that what you're talking
The
about?
building line, but not the additions, correct? Are you talking about, looks like there's a small addition on the front of that property? Does
The
that
addition does look to
extend,
be-
does that extend into that 28 feet?
Anything we could do to assist you with your review, Member Clapp?
Uh, I'm struggling with this one. To me, there is a concern that this was a condition that was created by the previous owner. And I'd like to hear what perhaps the rest of the board thinks about this one. I mean, I do have sympathy for the fact that there would be demolition required. But on the other hand, the property owner did buy this as is and understood that there were problems on the property. And in this particular case, extending this far into the front yard is a dilemma that I feel I need to be justified in approving this. So perhaps somebody else could speak to this and give me their thoughts on it. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other board members have any comments? I would offer up a couple of comments. I do agree that the property has significantly been improved with the addition since the original photos that were shown in the staff, or I think it was in the presentation from the architect. With that said, and even though those improvements were completed by the previous property owner, it still behooves everybody to do their due diligence and make sure that permits were adequately received, approved, inspections and everything else before you acquire a property. However, I do support the variance because for those reasons. As I watch Wayne fall over. That's just my opinion. Member Cardin.
Well, I'm afraid I'm not going to help Wayne much, but I'll start with my unhelpful comment, and which is I was just going to follow what you recommended in this district. But then as I look at it, there's no opposition here. We're kind of out in an area that doesn't seem to be bothered by these sorts of requests. And I was going to, for the reasons that the applicant outlined, suggest that I'd be comfortable approving.
Thank you, Member Cardin. This is in District 2. Is there a motion to be offered for this variance? Member Cardin?
I move that we approve BA 240005, and that's all.
We have a motion for approval by Member Cardin. Is there a second? We have a second by Member Ward. All right, Rosalie, if you please take roll call.
Member Cardin,
Yes.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you. Congratulations to the applicant. That's the last item on our agenda, so we'll go ahead. Unless anybody has a reason not to, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.